as we conclude with our lovely full moon and the different messages that came about. If you're new, go ahead and tune in. We have your eternal child wants you to see, hear, soothe, and have them feel safe and secure to walk earth as you. The previous episode involves what we talked about in that one, but it's going to also have some different stories and different examples. So it's that one is about 40-ish minutes, 45-ish minutes. You find inner stillness, raise your frequency, and ground yourself when anchored in ventral regulation. So those are great. You can also check out the community page with all the text that I get to read to and write it out, because I know you all have different ways you consume content. Furthermore, we have a 3-minute short giving you the gist of it, and a 1 minute, but obviously you're not really going to get much from any of those two. However, they're still out there in case people, I know how they like to consume content. Please remember, I'm a mystic. I am a content creator, podcast host. I learn from scientists, and I'm a whole human being, okay? But I'm the pseudoscience woo-woo lady for that reason. I know who the scientist people are, and I know who the spiritual people are, and I'm Maria Spiritual and bringing my own spiritual mystic journey. So it's not a category, and I don't do any of categories because I'm a solo poly. So it's non-hierarchical on purpose, because every single piece of data and information is all valuable. Flat earthers, you name it, except for one thing: there's no Lucifer to be found. But by staying grounded in reality, I can understand that some people will want to explain things in their way, and so I get to be a person who has a good time always, not just sometimes. And when I notice somebody who is yucky positive experience lady, they won't notice anything because I'm a lover, you see. So I'm equanimous, which is where my equanimity brings with it the integrity that they lack, because they have protection on due to their low self-esteem, their indirect communication, passive aggressive, and their child parts not being owned by them. They don't own their sense of self. They don't own their mind, brain. They don't own their body. They don't own their heart. They own nothing. And I get to meet their 0-1-year-old attached, panicky, and their 3 to 7 shame, submissive. And I get to handle them the best of my ability, as my mother taught me. If you can't say something nice, say nothing. And as God taught me, mind your own business about the 0-1-year-olds who do not want secure attachment, Maria, because if they want to suffer the rest of their life, they get to follow those other people, the 7 to 14 charming, who will be deemed by them the true good leaders, who tell them to stay in their protective stance and not to go heal their trauma with somebody like Bessel van der Kolk, who says you can heal. Studies are showing it. Not just him, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox. Okay, so we leave alone the human beings who are choosing their stories, including the 4D mystics. I mean, they continue thinking of themselves as bigger than God, actively disrespecting God. They also continuously perceive as if others, you, need them in order for you to access your higher frequency and your higher potential, which is not accurate. Personal growth and or spiritual growth comes because you choose that you want to expand who you are, and any professional that is offering you support, healer, practitioner, therapist, any one of us who works, I'm even a marketer, it will be thanks to our collaborative effort and the safe haven secure base, the reliability we have on each other, right? Because you say, discerningly, you look into people and you choose, I want to work with them. Now, the ones who are doing trending topics, they look for shortcuts. So we don't look at the individuals who are 3D, 4D, because anybody who's looking for a shortcut isn't hearing the information in the way that is pure information and taking it all in. They're taking in information with already a skewed ear and more. And my facade friend, let me use him as the example. He is one of my favorite, no, they're all my favorite friends, but this friend of mine, we're going to use it because a lover, we will be talking about romance, but a lover in general is a person who is an inner child adult right here with wholeness. So I don't long for friendship. I already have my mother, my twin. I have a younger sister. So I have an immediate family. Those are my primary alloparenting. Then I have fathers. They were not consistently present, but we could say those are those 5 for your immediate in your household, the way that you learn from smart, I do, attachment trauma educators. Okay. And then as an adolescent, I chose my next 5 alloparenting people. My teenage boyfriend, my BFFF of all times, Lo and behold, and then everybody else was extra. Well, no, I had, I'm going to say, a couple of girlfriends that, in fact, out of the couple, those who stuck. Okay, and then you add. Okay, but that's how it works. So our brain, body, and our mind, it's an embodied brain with ourselves. When you maintain ownership of sense of self and differentiation of self, my 3-year-old, she did, and you don't break as a soul that doesn't break. Thank you, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, above all, my mother and my twin. And if I have Robert Spolsky with Determined, come on in. So I didn't lose any clarity or organization, which is why I'm a non-traumatized human being who can self-regulate in the absence of relationships, as Pat Ogden presents in one of her quotes that I've read to you. So I'm a lover, and I'm whole. And I'm a whole person who doesn't need to be polyamory or monoamory to love unconditionally. In fact, I know already as a monoamorous person with my teenage boyfriend to have compersion for him as he's cheating and to work through things, because that's how you commit to death do you part, sickness and in health. These don't mean things to people who have no integrity. And in fact, again, passion consistently grows for lovers because we're not liars and we don't hide ourselves. So we don't compromise at all. Okay, there's nothing to heal, there's nothing to clarify, because my brain has I believe in me just the way I am. I believe in myself, Maria. I believe in you. I'm an empowered feminine. There's no parts of Maria that are disowned. Okay, so people who are lovers, that are ready to be lovers the way that I'm spelling you out, are people who are the 5D collective. Okay, so self-regulation, healthy, anchored in ventral, means that your friends are bonuses to you. Men, women, days, lovers are bonuses. Here, don't lie to yourself. If you don't feel it, it's okay. Shut the mouth up. I'm talking here. So I can confirm to you, as I'm a teenager, flirting, having my fun time, I'm deciding who's going to be the one for me. And lo and behold, he was my best friend before we got into it, and then it was a 4-year relationship. And the one thing I learned is that the grown-ups lied, because they said that you can only love your first love like you never loved before. I'm like, yeah, that's not what happened. Also, I love all people equally. And that's where the solo poly for me is something that consistently carries with the expansion of Maria. And so, while as a teenager we didn't have the opportunity to discuss polyamory, because at my time it wasn't something welcome, today younger generations do. And while the grown-ups, boring, don't understand the value in this, I do, because I'm securely attached. So what I do know is that younger people have good therapists to help them get to self-regulate in their ventral vagal, which will be their heaven in the body. And that's if they have access to these good therapists, which luckily for us, we have systems that allow for basically mental health to be a priority. And that's what I love to know, is that science is going to help every kid to become their full-fledged, beautiful, empowered masculine, if they want it. Obviously, it's a long road ahead, so let's allow ourselves to remember. Wholeness, though, comes with integrity. And those who think that a child can be easily broken, a soul, a soul... When I hear that, spiritual bypassers, spiritual egos, also science egos, and paused self people are non-bilaterally integrated, which equals a person who doesn't own all their child parts and therefore is not leading with their higher grown-up self. A whole person, wholeness, I lead with my higher grown-up self. As a teenager, the last charge part of mine is the 16-year-old. She never led the way. Maria led the way. Okay? So when you're a integrated brain and you're a differentiated self and you restoratively live this life just the way you are, you handle emotions. Doesn't mean your body doesn't go through things. It means you don't accumulate charges. It also means that you're aware of things. You can learn from somatic and sensory motor experts and understand how you're holding energy. But you don't suffer it, okay? Okay, so wholeness means you don't suffer life because it's not hard to feel, it's not hard to think. Integrity means that you are not ashamed of what you have done, what other people say about you. You really don't give a shit. So as a teenager, the people probably judged and thought that allowing him to cheat was somebody who didn't know what I wanted. I don't know. I instead know that I'm somebody who enjoyed my relationship, and every time we came together, we chit-chat, and I said, I'm not jealous, as you know, so culturally, I know this is a difference for you, but this is not, I have no low self-esteem. I'm not insecure. I can't lose you, so I'm not jealous. It's not part of who I am. Also, you don't own me. Okay, so as a lover, you're a person who knows who you are. Otherwise, you can't be one. the ones that I'm talking to. Okay, so empowered feminines aren't looking for 12-karat golden rings. You could bring me the ring. I might throw it at your face. No, I won't. I won't throw it at your face because my mother taught me manners, and that's actively something you don't ever do. But let's just hypothetically say that you gave me this beautiful ring, a gazillion dozen roses, and I find out, lo and behold, for me, the cheating thing, it doesn't count because I will be, okay, so let's talk because obviously we have something going on here. You're unsatisfied. What do we need to work on together, honey bun? No, I don't like to use those things because right here, honey bun, when people have used words. So when you have people who are facades, like my facade friend, they butter you up, buttercup. And that's where the tone will give it away, though, I have to say. But this is where we begin to build those implicit biases that come up from past experiences. But by being whole and smart, we don't apply them and project them and create, therefore, a stigma and or a stereotype and say, oh, I won't accept. Okay, you don't project that. No, you can actively say, due to my previous experiences, when somebody is using sweet talk with me, what has happened is usually XYZDFG. So I'm going to ask you, do we want to talk about something as you sweet talk your way through me? No, at the end of the day, I'm joking with you all right now. The reality is I would totally leave it alone. At my 44-year-old age, I will totally leave alone any liar because they're so boring. And usually the minute they begin lying, they're just going to be out. You don't get a text back. They do whatever they do, and they're playing out a 0 to 8-year-old. So they have no healthy self-worth or self-esteem or self-empowerment, and they definitely don't know how to talk with an open heart. So the nice thing about when you do have the capacity to be like, oh, well, it was fun, thought it was the real deal, it didn't end up turning out the real deal, it's okay. So you learn from the smart attachment trauma educators. What I'm sharing with you is basically an empowered woman or man won't be like, oh my God, I'm dying. Now, when you're taken by surprise, those things you process because those are called loved ones who you thought you knew, like the teenage boyfriend. Right, but and every year it was hilarious. By the third year, I'm like, okay, this is becoming ridiculous. I told him, I said, you need to make up your mind. Like, we're not children, because to me, we're children as teenagers, and people who don't think so, that's too bad for them, not for me. Adolescent brain is actively from the 11-year-old to 25. Your executive decision-making function areas are not developed. So I will not be treating you like an adult because you have lack of perception and lack of complete capacity to think of long-term consequences. Furthermore, your biochemistry is fucking with you. And boys and girls, I saw them all pretty much, besides me, cowards. And it's not because of me. It's that I chose, yes, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and God. I choose you over this, and I choose love and kindness, and I picked my adolescent herd. Okay, so I picked a herd that turned out to all be cowards, but it wasn't like those other herd members were not cowards. You see what I'm saying? And as I got older, lo and behold, more cowards. So as a 44-year-old woman, like I said, thanks to my facade friend, I don't address when somebody's beginning to do Cusco. I leave it alone because I've already seen it all. And it's not because I don't believe in love. No, love exists when you are an inner child adult with wholeness, integrity, healthy self-worth, and you know how to talk with an open heart. Always, not just sometimes. That's what you get to hear from me as an empowered feminine woman and masculine as well, because my mind works really great. And FYI, tragedy doesn't happen when a person is grounded in wholeness, because again, we have self-respect because we have self-love, because our nervous system works in its ventral energy, which is this. It's going to be okay, 0, 1-year-old, 3-year-old, 16-year-old, you're great. I mean, I really didn't even know that I had child parts until I met all the smart ones. I was like, you know what, you're right. I can perceive them. Okay, so your charged parts are what will come up every now and then, but because you don't have no disowned parts here, so the story I'm using, so you understand this, I continued to believe in myself and continued to keep my mind tidy and organized. It wasn't hard, and there was no poison because I don't do spite, low self-esteem, and be jealousy. No, spite is equally yucky to a sense of an inner child. Okay, so when you're not broken, you don't feel the same way about that energy. I stopped venting on my own. You feel like, yeah, I don't want to do this. This is inconsistent with who I am, with the promise I made to Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, with what I feel inside. So when you maintain the ventral energy as your child-centric environment was given to you from your 0 to 8, so you had the right codependent type parent and or parents and environment, your body doesn't know threat with fighting, having discussions, and being different. Again, I have a twin. So remember, your circumstances is why things can be different. But now that you're more of a grown-up, you have therapists that help you get here, like Terry Real and Patrick Tian. And so the inner child adults with wholeness, we don't long for each other, and therefore we welcome the differences, and we're not weighed down by them either. And so betrayal isn't something you keep on adding up. By the time you get to your 20s, I'm like, okay, cowards are liars. And they all just lie, and there's no Lucifer. Murderers need help because they have brains that need help from people. Then there's poor people, and then there's this, and there's all explanations. I don't need Lucifer. There's no Lucifer. In fact, as a mystic, I'm like, I've seen the lower planes, and I know who those people in the lower planes are. They're not energy vampires. It's quite disrespectful to dehumanize human beings who can use therapy. And in fact, here's what a 5D mystic can again share with you as a story. My empowered 5D mystic masculine friend, remember? Okay, so we're gonna keep chit-chatting a little bit more, so get comfy unless you're in a rush. The gist of the full moon 1, if you are in a rush, is you feel safe and secure to walk earth as you, because you're your own safe haven, secure base. You do enjoy doing emotions and thoughts, and if you are still working to get them lighter, you do that with mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices. If you need extra help, there's good therapists. You build a community of people that you have fun with, and you don't distract yourself when something deep hits. No, you actually use your safe haven, secure base, healthy self-worth, self-soothing, self-regulating companions. Companions means just anyone. And you don't do Cusco. You consistently choose to bring the best version of you, so you can consistently engage and anchor in your ventral energy, which means your gooey-ooey-ooey-ness, and that's how it works. If you do what the Zen master does, then you're going to have laundry, and that's what 4D does. And then they just think they're goddesses and empresses and emperors and all this bullshit. These science ones are just, there's never been a medium ever, and they keep doing the flat earthers, people who don't stay grounded in their bilateral vertical overall integration, and that's how I'm going to bring it to you, okay? So 5D is a bunch of smart people. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. We're at peace with that which is being a generous spirit, because we know that we're all lucky to be here, and if we don't get hit by an asteroid, yay, we take a leap of faith in love, which is what's happening. We still have those people who are getting ready to speak that truth, and they have reclaimed the power of the panther, but that's not by being rude. It's by being people who know how to be fearless and bold in your pacha suit. So we get, I'm more decent enough to be saluted, gets he, and we have fun, and you got your friends, the ones that you do have a smart, intellectually, emotionally, and physically smart fun with, okay? So you don't act as a chameleon, you are one. And you're open to the infinite possibilities, because that's what happens when you have integration of brain, restorative embodiment self, you're aware, accountable, and regulating, and you own the sense of self. So your soul self, your core, your narrative, and relational are yours. Which is why you do trust the great mystery. You don't play God, which is why we don't need to worry about any of those stories. I heard a recent one about the battles. I'm not going to get specific to not get people into this thing. I know who I heard it from, and I like the person, although I have noticed that they've gotten into a bunch of narratives. But the long story short is, this is a very, very, esteemed. It's kind of like the fancy man in the suit. So there are people who are esteemed by all these other human beings who look at them. I don't, because again, I have a direct relationship with God. I have no questions about tomorrow, and I'm a mystic. Okay, so you can call me woo. That's because I respect the scientists, but I don't have questions about faith. I actually have very many discerning opinions, not judgments, because there's no charges, because I don't get angry. I don't need to correct. Again, I don't play God. I'm not an ego that forgets my spot and place within the big scheme of things and who God is. Intelligence. You can call it a different word. I'm not subject. I'm actively participating with the knowingness that you all are part of that same energetic intelligence and God. And so if I think of the lower frequency, they're all shame, blame, fault, revenge, poor human beings who could use a therapist, not Lucifer the monster that I had been read about and told about and shown in movies. Now, the example I was giving to you all, that 5D mystic empowered masculine friend of mine, this was the year prior to me meeting up with him, where he told me a whole bunch of other things. And he is looking at me as I'm telling him how I'm handling life in general as a mystic. And he's like, you know what you're doing? It's dangerous, right? Because I talk to everyone, anyone. I don't make it into like I need to avoid people, because there's no energy vampires. And I'm looking at him like, no, I'm looking at you right now. You got eyes. You're a person. There's nothing that's dangerous about any of these. I don't know. So the 4D, 3D body type is what I call the people who have yet learned how to use their brain, mind, and body. So they don't know how to be emotionally empowered because they haven't expanded their window tolerance. They're not working with their bilateral. And he got better because he began working, or he's been working with a therapist. So integration in time takes place, and so people are then able to feel grounded in themselves. Okay, and so that's why even with life being a mystery, they have the strength of a saber-toothed lion, and they do know nothing is wasted. So they are able to surrender in a very different way than the 4D. And the transformation that is beautiful is that they become their own butterfly, and no matter how they got here, they are an empowered feminine who realizes that they have their own relationship, whether they call it God, Akash, universe, source, dark matter, dark energy. So a grown-up, an inner child adult, is a lover because they have integrity. They use 2-3 sides, all of their brain, all their mind, all their self, and they're looking at the world not only with integrity, but also with one realization. And so they support the internal process of their own heart-centered truth. They're aware of it. And they do bring that forth, okay? And so their highest expression comes thanks to realization, emergence of that which is the reality with a childlike attitude of innocence and wonderment. And so they watch and celebrate the beauty that unfolds from this place as they support themselves, thanks to now having a bunch of beautiful resources that don't sting anymore, because they found their lost compass. They found what was emptying their well, and that was not knowing how to use their rest and renewal, their ventral vagal state, and a bilaterally integrated brain, vertically, overall, all of it, to then be able to resonate with the emotional stuff and not allow yourself to go offline. Because when you are feeling the depths of the emotional, it's by sharing it in a safe haven, secure based space, and you feeling it deeply. Obviously some people are good with the inner growth mindset and expanding, so that decentralization of the self moment is cool and dandy. But if you got shit going on like a Zen master, you're gonna want a person to allow yourself, and this is the moment of truth. If you didn't have it from home, it's going to feel weird to you because you didn't have the possibility to feel that you were the infinite potential to everything being possible in a child-centric 1-year-old and 3-year-old. But if you have the psych education and the smarts to say, okay, this is my health, and this is actually how I can embody myself deeply, and the fear that arises actually is my own implicit memory. The only way I'm going to have my amygdala unlearn it and my body is by giving myself the shot. That's how you expand not only that window of tolerance, but that's how you process what comes up. It's with the psych education. You're welcoming of it, which is what the people with the fancy suits don't want, and stuff like that. Okay, so confidence in your own magic is because you get curious about that which is implicit memory and explicit, and you share with someone else. But it's trusted, it's safe, it's, again, not where you're bringing any, there's no danger to anyone. Okay, so this is why when people are working with therapists, they then work with their partners and colleagues and stuff like that. So as a web, we come together, those of you here, as empowered feminines, all of us, who know about our tree of life being our embodied brain. Okay, so if you needed to go ahead. Okay, so my, let's see how many stories I've probably forgot to close on out. Well, the one empowered masculine mystic, I told you that one. So he was looking at people as energy vampires and thinking that me being able to socialize with all is dangerous. So the narratives of the 4D, 3D is that there's chosen people and not chosen. when you look at this battle thingy that I heard about, it's hilarious because, again, even if a person has a level of visibility, what I noticed is they're not in a participation with that which is the higher intelligence, but that they actively fall within their story. They're just using a story and they're using an ego. And so the story serves those who will be like a flat earthers group, though, that they need meaning and motivation behind why they live. And they need it from a place that involves their gut, which means their threat response. So they are going to keep living what basically their 16-year-old is, which is why I determined Robert Sapolsky, come on in. I understand his perspective, although I haven't read the book yet, because I know that because I don't feel shame, ever, never felt it, never will feel it, I know that my fulfilling of this soul contract to you is tell you my eternal child, she's here because I can break it down to you scientifically and then add the spiritual stuff. But I can break it down to you with the buildup of the brain and what I built upon it. With Lisa and Lisa Feldman, I read to you that one about how our brain is interpreting life based on our brain's interpretation. How is it that she uses the thought thing? Okay, so you are familiar. The brain is running a model of its body. Excuse me. So the brain uses past experiences to decipher what it senses. And so I know that my 3-year-old is my happiest childhood environment, childhood memory, and that's because of all of the other stuff. So once you know yourself, it's from the implicit to the explicit memory with your age groups, all of them, and you being able to, though, be your grown-up. On the other hand, when you see people who are using stories, that's why they feel like storytellers of Cinderella's time as a person of faith, because, again, I have faith. I don't play God. And anytime I'm hearing them use books, it's not about disrespect, although that's how they like to interpret it. I'm thinking you don't remember who you are and what you're meant to be, and also that you don't impose faith on anyone. So at the end of the day, when I got clairs, I began navigating the plane of Akash, intelligence. In fact, when people have been in my space, I'm like, you fucking got to be kidding me. When I've seen my past lives, I'm not telling it as if, oh my God, because the way that a 5D body type experiences a bunch of shit downloading is basically like I'm talking to you right now. That's it. I don't dissociate clinically. It's like me watching having a movie in the background. It's why when I began to double check with people, is this telepathy? Is this mediumship? Is this? Is this? Yep. Okay. Because I was like, I've been doing it my entire life. Wow, this is awesome. So what I can tell you today is because I have a body grounded in Maria, meaning my eternal child. Okay, so when I can tell you this, what I can also explain is those who do need Patrick Tiahan, if they go get him, they can continue to get themselves back to what I'm sharing. I don't feel or believe, but I can't say because I'm not them, but the way that he explains it is he's still working with his unkindness that can come up. And what I can say is that there's Sid, Manny, and Diego that have a good time together, but there's Sid, Manny, and Diego. Or there's Pacha and Cusco, which actually I like Pacha and Cusco. But I like it when a Cusco's not lying to Pacha. And that's still, though, Cusco and Pacha coming together and they make a team. Which here's where our empowered feminines and empowered masculines come together. Because that's exactly where the balance of the two come as one Merkaba. Okay, so rising up, every person, if you are feeling called to notice this Merkaba activation, you have your empowered masculine, divine feminine, the body heart, your eternal child, the empowered masculine, divine masculine, bilateral, vertical, all over integration. So you like to use your brain and mind and self and all that. Okay, so you do know what you want to bring to Gaia, wisdom, earth intelligence, learning experiences. You know that the world is going to change. Globe's going to change. I mean, this is where science, space weather, does anybody want to keep denying? I mean, I had a conversation that was philosophical where I was saying the sun, we don't know what scientists can do in the future, but not because I think that the stars and the way stars work is different than what I got explained. Okay? And so self-expression, authenticity. You've learned how to speak your own truth with that intentionality and knowing there's no obstacles in your way, but that community matters and you know who your community is, who you are. And so you bring forth your authentic self at this point, which is what a lover is. And which is why although you don't know everything about tomorrow, as an empowered feminine will tell you, you are very much excited because you know that whatever doors get closed, open new ones, and really you don't look at them as closing doors because, see, this door is always, I mean, to me, it doesn't seem closed, even though they're saying it's closing. What if I leave it like that? I could come in and out whenever I want. So luck and right timing. Who creates the luck? Who creates the right timing? You do, because you're the one who can, in those moments of contemplation, reconcile the way right here, right? Our wailing tree. You reconcile thoughts and emotions. And that's the minute of truth. Do you do it with curiosity and with radical acceptance of you and imperfections and flaws, with all that you know we all bring to each other? We all can be a monster. We all can be a lover. We all can be friends. We all could be enemies. The balancing act is moving beyond that which is a little threat response, which is a really small energy, to you don't need direction anymore as a person who has grounded themselves in the sense of self. Use your human name. You have an ego. I do too. It doesn't die. It doesn't fucking die. The one thing that they keep talking to you about is this ego death and then the illusion of the self, which is why people get displaced. So Dr. Daniel Siegel, Interpersonal Neurobiology, one of my courses with him, besides that one, Consciousness and Change, where he explains when the self is whole and a person has a flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brain, and I can tell you all about it, you're rising above the fray because you are able to know that your thoughts and emotions are not irrefutable facts. The last time I thought my thoughts and emotions were irrefutable facts, I was getting disowned at the age of 8 by my twin sister. So that you can have an example of what that means in terms, and if you want, you can look up this lady, Kristen Lindquist, Powerful Emotions Feel Like Irrefutable Facts. It's called effective realism. So when people use fancy ways to explain to things and then they don't give you examples in day to day, that's why a lot of people don't know what the fuck it is to be on a true enlightenment and spiritual mastery journey. At least that's from this 5D mystics perspective in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. And it's really a shame because they're missing out on a lot. They don't have anything that moves into Dharma. Every time they go through karma, they just keep doing this little merry-go-round and they don't embody more of what they could. They don't become a teachable hollow bone. They don't know how to navigate the treasures of anything because they just use their shadow self to bring out their teenager, and that's why you don't see a grown-up. You just see a spiritual narcolepsy, a human being who's a bypasser egoically with spiritual ego and or signs. Okay, so they're not harming anyone. They just pretend to be badass while they're not. And again, those are the facades. So facades stay facades. As for the ones of us who don't, like I said, we get to be lovers. And the fun part is I love to love, and my baby, he loves to dance, and he loves to love and learn, expand, and not cast stones. And so with that, wholeness, integrity, healthy self-worth, and talking with open hearts is really fun. As that full moon says, and you're excited every day more of what surprises it will hold because you've consolidated your herd, and then when you add to your herd again, there's more. And as for the one-to-one, it's only going to work when two people are on the same page, which means they have an actual conversation. So and it doesn't happen out of nowhere. You don't just randomly pick them, but you also don't need to be against anything either. You know what? I might give you a last episode just so I can hone on romance for a minute. But meantime, thanks for stopping by. In case I don't come back, you will have something more in the next days. We'll find out the schedule as we move forward. But, when the energies are about, I always have more messages for you. So thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the paid subscription-based model content on Fanbase and Spotify if you want video practical exercises. But subscribe if you want to, get notified when the stuff comes out. And once YouTube allows subscribers, we'll have our tiers here too. One-to-one mentorship. You email me to sign up for the masterclass and the workshops and spiritual workshops and retreats. You send me your name. It's not anything immediate. You just start getting on a list. And I just trying to remind people of opportunities since I do know that can help you all to understand how to get in touch and stuff like that. Again, thank you for stopping by. Have a good one.